Jaya Radha. Oh, did you? You don't need a sheet. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay. Jaya Mr. Paramahansa, Bhagavadgitacharya, Ashtotar, the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhagavadgitacharya, Ashtotar, the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, I hate to ask you for this, but can we have just a slight bit more? Here, my voice is kind of weak, all this kirtan and everything. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can learn this. Om Namo. Namo. Namo means I offer my obeisances. And Om is just Om. You've heard of Om. And Bhagavate. Bhagavate means unto the personality of Godhead. And then Vasudevaya is the name for Krishna, the son of Vasudev. See, in Sanskrit, when you have this a son, like if your father is Vasudev, and you're male, then you're Vasudev, the long A. So Vasudevaya means unto Krishna, the son of Vasudev. I offer my obeisances unto Krishna, son of Vasudev. Let's try it. And before each class, we chant this, so it's very useful. You know this one. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Be good if you could see it. All right, we'll work on it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Hare Krishna. Yeah, it'll be okay. Thank you. All right. On this 8th day of May, 2019, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 4, titled Transcendental Knowledge, text 12, page 199. I'll wait. It's blissfully silent back there. This is good. Let's hope it stays. Huh? It's just, yeah. Anyways, it's nice. Okay, we got everyone's on the same page. Kangshanta karmanang siddhim yajanta hiya devataha chipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja kangshanta karmanang siddhim yajanta hiya devataha chipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja kangshanta karmanang siddhim yajanta hiya devata chipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Go ahead, Jamal. Kangshanta karmanang siddhim yajanta hiya devataha chipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja kangshanta karmanang siddhim yajanta hiya devataha chipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Do you chant back there? Go ahead. Kangshanta karmanang siddhim yajanta hiya devataha chipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Kangshantak, desiring, karmanam, of fruit of activities, siddhim, perfection. Yajante, they worship by sacrifices, iha, in the material world, devata, the demigods, chipram, very quickly, he, certainly, manushe, in human society, loke, within this world, siddhi, success, bhavati, comes, karmaja, from fruitive work. Translation, Krishna says to Arjuna, men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Purport. There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of this material world, and men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Actually, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I forgot to reactivate this. I'm going to read the translation again. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Purport. There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of this material world, and men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the demigods are not different forms of God, but they are God's different parts and parcels. God is one, and the parts and parcels are many. The Vedas say, Nityo Nityanam, God is one. Ishvara Parama Krishna, the Supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityanam, with different grades of material power. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God, Narayan, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or Pashandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma and Shiva, Shiva Virinchinutam. Yet, curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. We'll discuss what they mean later. Iha Devata denotes a powerful man or demigod of this material world. But Narayan, Vishnu, or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not belong to this world. He is above or transcendental to material creation. Even Sripad Shankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalists, maintains that Narayan or Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people, Ritagyana, worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results, but do not know that results so obtained are temporary and are meant for less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness, and he has no need to worship the paltry demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world, as well as their worshippers, will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things, such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoyable paraphernalia. To achieve such temporary things, people worship the demigods or powerful men in human society. If a man gets some ministership in the government by worshipping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. All of them are therefore kowtowing to the so-called leaders or, quote, big guns in order to achieve temporary boons, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. They are all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worshipping empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So Krishna has kind of changed gears a little bit here. In the previous verses, he was talking about how he spoke this Bhagavad Gita to the sun god. He started out the chapter that way. Then he explained how the knowledge is coming down. I'm speaking it again because it's by the force of time it's become confused. It's become distorted. So he says, Evam parambara praptam imam rajarshya vadu saheva kalanahe mahato yoga nashta parantapa. Yoga nashta means that it's become destroyed. So I was speaking the same knowledge to you, Arjun, because you're my friend and my devotee. I want to reinstitute this knowledge. And he explains that he periodically comes to this world or sends his representative, but in this case he comes in order to renew the actual Dharma, which becomes distorted over time. So he's speaking about himself, and then at the end of this description of his advent and what he does and why he comes to protect the devotees and reinstitute Dharma, and one who understands why I come, how I come and appear, and these activities of mine, will not have to take birth again. Will come back to me in the spiritual world. This was verse 9, very important verse. And then he spoke about how many people who have been devotees who become free of a material attachment and fear and anger, they are absorbed in thinking about me, take shelter of me, they become purified by knowledge and austerity, and in this way they come to me and they attain love for me. So all this is very much in the realm of bhakti yoga. And then he says, text 11, very important verse we read yesterday, that as one surrenders unto me, I reciprocate exactly. Now that includes everybody. Those who have no idea of Krishna wouldn't believe in God if you paid them, They still have to live in this world. And so they worship God indirectly by worshiping his material energy. You get absorbed in making money. There's a whole financial institution. I grew up in New York. New York is one of the main financial centers in the world. Wall Street, everyone knows about it. And these guys are, from morning to night, they're absorbed in making money. In what's going on with the market in Thailand right now. In other words, it's a 24-hour thing. You got the computer, and it's always how can I sell, how can I buy in order to make money. So they're worshiping. They're worshiping at the altar of the almighty dollar. They think it's almighty, And their mind is absorbed in that. That's, again, we have to go to the 16th chapter to find that described. That's the demoniac qualities. So, yeyatama papadyante. They're surrendering to Krishna indirectly through his energy. This is all Krishna's energy. This is 7th chapter, it's described. Where did all this earth come from? The solid matter, the liquids, the gases, the incredible complex arrangement of this material world, beginning with our own bodies. What a contraption, amazing, machine. It didn't just come about by chance. There's a brain behind it. There's intelligence behind it. It's all Krishna's intelligence. Now, he works through his agents. He works through Durga Devi, the material energy, and all these demigods that are described. Why should he be directly, bothered by all of this? Isn't it what a big, powerful person does? He delegates everything, and he goes and plays golf or whatever. He's just playing. That's Krishna. He's playing. Leela means he's always playing in the spiritual world. But how to take care of all these, these fools and rascals who don't want to play with me, who want to try to be the master and controller? All right, we need a material world, so I'll expand as Balaram. Balaram expands as Mahavishnu and the Vishnu forms, and we'll arrange for this complex material energy where these foolish souls can forget me for some time until they finally catch on that they were fools to leave the home in the spiritual world, and they come back to me. But now he's describing, so he describes exactly as they worship me, I reciprocate, exactly as they surrender. And, that includes the pure devotees who are fully surrendered, and they get full realization of Krishna, and it includes those who worship this material energy, and all these poor souls, subhuman, who have no intelligence, who are just working out their karma and trapped in material bodies. So now, he says, for many people, they're not interested in transcendence. They're interested in improving their material situation. And so those who know how the universe works, they worship Devata, Yajantihi Devata, Kankshanta Karmanam Siddhim, desiring a perfection of karmic activity, of fruitive activity. There are many, some are intelligent enough to know that you can't find that really so-called perfection of material activity on this plane, on the earthly plane. The earthly plane is a mix of a lot of suffering and some happiness. But if you really want more refined happiness, live billions of years, have a much healthier body, peaceful and joyful, you go to the heavenly planets. There's a higher ranges of existence. Just as here, like if you try to imagine the life of a cat or a dog, what do they really know about human life? Not much, They're with their rudimentary consciousness. So for them, our plane of existence is really a mystery, even though they may be in proximity to it. Just as we can't conceive of these higher realms that the Devas live on, where they live much longer and all these different things. The lower animals can't think of us. It's a big mystery, you see. So we shouldn't think that we really know what's going on. We're still in great darkness despite all of these advances in science and microscopes and telescopes and things. So there are devatas, and these are part of Krishna's vast bureaucracy to run the material world. The god of the waters, the god of the air, the god of the sun. There's intelligence behind everything. Nothing is happening automatically. Just as in our own house, if you don't do anything, it gets disorganized unless you apply your intelligence, right? You're the little devata of your apartment, your house, or whatever you have. And you have to keep applying that intelligence to make it run in an organized way. So what to speak of this vast universe or the planets, So those who are serious about worshiping the demigods, they attain siddhi, success, if they do it correctly. But it's all from fruit of work. And Prabhupada explains, first of all, he quotes his verse. Sometimes he just quotes the first part of a verse, but he explains the whole thing. So the demigods are not different forms of gods. It's not that the Hindus believe in many gods. That's the mistake. But because they have understanding of some of the vast array of the gods, They know about, Lord Shiva and Lord Indra, and even the Greeks, they had Zeus. There's a god up there, god of the, there's an intelligence who's running the weather. And all of these aspects of the material energy, why wouldn't they be? Just like in the government, a big government like the United States, you got the State Department, and they got so many deputies and the ambassadors, and it's a big bureaucracy to run a complicated thing like this. So Krishna has this bureaucracy. It's called all the devas. There's many thousands of them, major and minor. And those who want perfection in this material world, they understand, well, if I get the favor of this deva, then I can go to that planet. Krishna explains later on, Yanti deva vrita devan. You worship the devas, you go to the devas. Yanti deva pitrin yanti. You worship the pitris, who are the forefathers. There's a planet for them, you can go there. You worship the bhutas and the pretas, the ghosts and the hobgoblins, you can go there. And those who worship me come to me. So the key is, what does it mean to worship? Worship means, first of all, you focus on them. You see something as a source of benefit for you. And you focus on it. And you do what you think is necessary to get the benefit from that thing or that person or that force. That's a form of worship. Now, for us, of course, we worship Krishna. But really, we're worshiping in the mood of trying to attain service. Service and worship are not exactly the same thing. Worship can be very formal, chanting the right mantras, making the right offerings at the right time of day, the right time of year, meeting all the prescriptions, so you'll get the result. Your desire is the result, right? Your desire is not to attain love for the person you're worshiping. That's not part of it. It's a business deal. So that's what Krishna is talking about, that those who really want perfection in karmic activities, they worship the devas properly, according to the Shastra. They do it very nicely. And if they do, they relatively quickly, get perfection there, and they may go to the heavenly planets. But what does Krishna say in the 7th chapter? Prabhupada refers to it. He says, those whose intelligence is stolen away by illusion. He says, Kamais taistai rita jnana papadyante anya devata. We all have books, we can turn to this. There's 2 places where Krishna roundly condemns deity worship. And this is one of them. Demigod worship. Did I say demigod worship? Excuse me. Demigod worship. Demigod worship. So let's turn to text 19 in page in chapter 7, which is on page 327. So here he's talking about those who are really intelligent, the Mahatmas, and who surrender to me. It's a very important verse. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mampapadite vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So this is rare. Then the next verse is the verse I was referring to. Kamas taista jnana. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. That's what he's talking about in text 12 that we just read. Kankshanta karmanang siddhim. Those who want perfection in material karmic activities, they'll worship the devas. But their intelligence has already been stolen by material desire. Krishna is not praising them, he's just analyzing. So what happens? Yo yam yam tonam bhakta. I'm in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make the faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Now, today, religions are created by the hundreds every day on the internet, so-called religions. See if you can get a following. Maybe they'll send some donation. There's so many crazy people out there. If you can make a nice enough show, right? So you're worshiping someone. It's kind of worship. You send in your donation. You click donate, right? And then you send your donation. That's a kind of worship. Now the reciprocation may just be, I fooled you. In other words, you were bewildered, And even if it's a genuine religion, this kind of religion, and your faith can become strong. You want to worship a certain person? You know, I used to live in Miami. We would get all kinds of visitors coming up from Brazil. Miami is a big hub for any visit from South America, if anyone knows it. So we had a lot of devotees down there, and we hear all kinds of stories. You know, it's a big place for ghost worship. You know, it's very common. You go out into the forest, and they smoke a cigar, and they worship this and that, and they offer a lot of liquor, and it's mode of ignorance worship. In Brazil. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on there. And so what kind of worship is that? What do you get from that? You know? Clearly it's not transcendental, it's not uplifting, it's degrading. But your faith can become very strong. You can have a whole tradition of this kind of worship coming in. And let's be honest, there's all kinds of stuff going on in India also. You know, the tantric kinds of worship. You know, right, Prabhu? You know, right? Tantra. Yeah, mode of ignorance. So, yo-yo yanam tana bhakta, whatever you want to worship. If you focus on it, I'll make your faith strong. That's what he says. Shraddhayajita tasita chajalam shraddham tama vavadadham. I give your faith in that thing. And then with that faith, you'll worship it. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas. Text 22. With that faith, endowed with such faith, one endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So it's all coming from Krishna, but you think it's coming from the god or goddess that you're worshiping. See? And it's all motivated by personal desire. There's no bhakti in there at all. So then Krishna has his verdict, text 23. Andavatu palam tesham tadavot alpamadisam. Alpamadisam is not very smart, not very intelligent, all these worshippers of others. Because the fruit is temporary. We're eternal. This is the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita. This is A of the ABC. We are eternal souls. The body is temporary. We're in this body. We're not going to die. We were never born. The body was born. The body will die. So whatever fruit, whatever benefit we're trying to get that is tied to this material world, and it's simply in relation to our senses of this body, that means we're not very intelligent. Because that leaves our main problem unsolved, as our being trapped in this round of birth and death, old age and disease. And why don't we discuss the threefold miseries while we're at it? You know, this world, Krishna has certified this world as a dukkhalayam, a shashvatam, in the 8th chapter. You know this phrase, Prabhu? Dukkhalayam, a shashvatam? But you know what dukkhalayam means? An abode of misery and temporary. Even if you say, okay, I've got some good things in my life, things are going on, I know there's a lot of misery, I've got this disease, whatever, but I'll manage somehow. No, you can't. There's no peace, because it's all temporary. Whatever situation you have that you think is okay, or I can tolerate, it's going to get worse. It's going to. That's one of the main problems here, is that it's all temporary. It's constantly changing. It's bhava sagara. You know what bhava means? Change. Change means birth, old age, disease, birth, old age. So then, in the meanwhile, while you're trying to eke out an existence here and enjoy a little bit, you've got this threatening of these threefold miseries. You got the main ones, never go away: birth, old age, disease, and death. But in addition, you have these threefold miseries. You have those difficulties that are caused by your own body and mind. You were abused as a child. You carry it with you your whole life. Right? You got anxieties. It becomes. There's also physical manifestations of it. I mean, it's not a mystery. That's a mental problem that manifests in physical problems. So that's your own body and mind. You can be in the most idyllic situation in SanDiego, weather is perfect, you're on the beach, but you're miserable because body, mind. So that's adhyatmic. Adibautic, other human beings mostly, but any other creature, can cause you trouble. These little bugs, these little bacteria are mutating. We thought we had them conquered, right? With the antibiotics, but why don't we'll just give everybody antibiotics no, then they mutate, and now they have all of this antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Go to the hospital; it's the most dangerous place in the world, practically. You know that? The longer you stay, the sicker you get. They have this new candida. Do you know that? Yeah, there's a variety of fungus now that they can't kill, and it's causing all kinds of problems in the hospitals. Right, exactly. So, there's always something, right? And now you know more about what's going on because of the internet. You get any time, any place, you know things that are happening that you didn't know before. So that creates a certain kind of anxiety, which is another misery, being adhyatmic. And then you have, sudden disasters. We read about every day there's some weather thing going on. Whether it's, super cyclone hitting the Philippines or now India, or Miami, or it's threatening, Florida this way, that way. Adi Daivik. We're back to the Devas again. Because everyone's so sinful, there's more and more horrific natural disasters taking place. So those are threatening. So one of those three is always you're suffering from or you're being threatened by. And then if you find some period of peace, there's always old age, disease, and death threatening. So it's just not a place where you can try to be happy. But because people don't know there's another platform of happiness, of eternal bliss and knowledge, they have no idea. They don't believe in it. Therefore, you try to make peace and enjoy in this material world. You sell out your heritage, actually, as a human being. So Krishna says here, he certified it, Alpametasam, those who are not very intelligent. But those who are intelligent, they pursue, they surrender to Krishna ultimately. After many births of cultivating knowledge, you surrender to me, and you can actually pave your way out of this world. That's what's going on. So for a while now, Krishna is going to speak about this. He next talks about the Chaturvarnyam, the four different social classes in the society. So he's going to talk a little bit about the society here. Now let's just go through this purport. So Nityo Nityanam, it's not that there are many gods, there's only one. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitanam Eko Bahunam Yobadadati Kaman. This is in the purport, he just quotes Nityo Nityanam. Which means that of the many eternal conscious beings, we're all conscious beings and we're all eternal. But there's one, singular one, who is providing the necessities for all the others. Is it you, Jamal? Are you providing the necessities for others? Sometimes you yourself don't have your necessities, so you can't be the one, right? And none of the gods aren't either. Whatever they're providing us, the Lord of the Rain, the Sun God and everything, they're getting that from Krishna. That's the whole point here. Is that their powers are derivative. The Supreme Personality of Godhead's powers are not derivative. He is independent, the source of all power, the source of all energy. So that's the source of our actual benefit. And until we take steps to open up the channel of our relationship with Krishna through the process of bhakti yoga, we're going to be trying for relative stopgap measures in this material world, and we will never be happy and never be peaceful. We may think we have attained some happiness and peace, but it's very temporary. That's the idea. Okay, any questions on this verse? Shall we go on with another one? Yes. Okay. Text 13. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartanam apimam vidyakartanam avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Purport. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of him, everything is sustained by him, and everything after annihilation rests in him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically called the Brahmins, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Kshatriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras, or laborer class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions, because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of a particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to the different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmins. Although Brahmins, by quality, are supposed to know about Brahman, the Supreme Absolute Truth, most of them approach only the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna. But a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahman and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnav. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc. And as Krishna is transcendental to this system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the divisions of community, nation, or of species. So, the Varnashram system. Here he just mentions the Varnas, but the corresponding elements in society, in civilized society, include ashrams for the gradual spiritual advancement. So this is Krishna's way of organizing the society. There has to be a division of labor, and naturally it will be according to one's propensities and one's intelligence and skills. And so this is Chatur, there's these four general divisions. And they're true in any society. It doesn't have to be, consciously arranged or anything. It's just the way it is. Just like everyone, as you grow up, you get placed in a certain class. I remember we were, I think, there were two divisions in my grade school. There was the A track and the Z track. Those who were the Z were the ones who were a little more intelligent, and those who wanted to be encouraged, they were in the A group. And so I was always in the Z group, you know what I mean? And it's just the way it is. There's some who are faster and others who have other skills. I mean, someone who's very good with their hands. I could never work on a car. Sometimes a car broke down, I would open the hood, I would just kind of fake it. I didn't know what was going on in there, Now they have AAA, you can just call, But that just didn't appeal to me. I never got into it. But some of my friends, as soon as they were able, they would help their fathers fix their cars and whatever. They're good with their hands. This is the classic Shudra mentality. It's very necessary to have people who can do that in society. But you need an intelligent class. And specifically the Brahmins are meant to be repositories of not just material knowledge, but spiritual knowledge. They're supposed to know Brahman. As it is said, Janmana Jayate Shudra. Everyone's born a Shudra. In other words, you're born, you don't know anything about anything, right? But if you're born into a good family, then there's something called samskars, which are purificatory functions that happen even before birth. So it says, samskarat bhaved dvija. You become twice born from these samskars. And Vedapatat bhaved vipra. If you're able to study the Vedas or Vedic literature and become then you become a vipra. But brahmajanatiti brahmana. To really become a Brahman, you have to know Brahman. And in fact, a real Brahman is a Vaishnav, the Supreme Brahman. The Supreme Brahman is Krishna, the person. Most people think that Brahman means just the impersonal Brahmajyoti, the white light. But that's just a preliminary phase of understanding the absolute truth. There's Brahmajyoti, the spiritual effulgence, which is really Krishna's bodily effulgence. And then there's the localized Paramatma, supersoul in everyone's heart. But beyond even that, there's Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we know, with his own world, his own activities, his own lila. The absolute truth, which is defined as the source of everything and the sustainer of everything, and ultimately that person who in everything merges at the time of annihilation. That's what we should be going for. So, but Krishna is concerned about running the society in an organized way, so that some people, the fortunate ones who are understanding, they'll have a format, they'll have a structure by which you can advance spiritually. And so along with these four varnas of the Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras, Brahmins being the intellectuals, the teachers, those who are meant to guide society, and the Kshatriyas who are not only administrative, but they're military often, The qualities are described a little more in the 18th chapter. So they're charismatic, they have the charisma, natural leaders. They're also never shook from a fight, like that. But they're meant to be also well versed in the Shastra, and especially take advice from the Brahmins. You have to have an advisory, Brahmins advising the Kshatriyas. Otherwise the Kshatriyas tend to get into their power and they become exploitative and be a dictatorship. So then you have Vaishyas, who are in a civilized society, many of them farmers or mercantile traders, even bankers and so forth. They're the ones who really create the wealth in society, which are taxed by the Kshatriyas, and charity is given to the Brahmins. They're sustained. But they live simply. The Brahmins' wealth is austerity. Now you can see why. So they can't be bought out by the Kshatriyas. Today you've got intellectuals, but they're all on the payroll or taking some graft, right? People who are figuring out the different kinds of propaganda and so forth. It's completely corrupted. So the Brahmins need to be free of that. Therefore, though they take charity, they give it away also. And they live very simply. That way they can speak truth to power. And the Kshatriyas can't hold anything against them. Because if they don't take the advice, I quit. I'll just live under a tree. I'll live simply with like that. But now, how important it is to have a pure Brahminical class. And then, so the Vaishyas are creating wealth, and they give donations to the Brahmins. They get taxed by the Kshatriyas. And then you have the Shudras, who are the laborer class, and they're meant to be maintained. They're essential also in society. And if they feel protected and well cared for and maintained, then they're satisfied. So all of that is corrupted today. When you have the 16th chapter dominating, the 16th is a chapter mostly about the demonic, then you have the corruption of all these classes. The Brahmins gets bought out by the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas lord it over everyone else. And you have Lanka with Ravana in charge, or Hiranyakashipu. So when that becomes too much of a burden on the earth, then Krishna appears, as he says early in this chapter, and for the protection of devotees and like that. So Krishna has appeared. He appeared 5,000 years ago, but he's appeared much more recently, and he's here now in the form of the holy name. The holy name can purify anyone, because it's all a question of one's mentality. So the power of the Hare Krishna mantra, it can expunge the demoniac nature that we all have in this Kali Yuga. It's so polluted. And one can actually become a force for good in the society, as well as for, be confident of making progress and going back to Godhead. So the really hopeful thing in the world today is Bhakti Yoga here. The countervailing force. We're going to need a miracle. The way things are going is just, my God. Do I need to get into the details? Nuclear war is more imminent than at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I remember. You don't. But you heard about it? You didn't hear about it either? Well, let me tell you. You heard about the Cold War? Yeah. So the Cold War, you had, this implacable, I remember the maps as a kid, You had the red part of the map. The whole Soviet Union, which is huge, at least twice as big as the United States, and China, which is also big. All of that is red, And the United States and our allies were holding back the red tide. The whole idea is this Cold War. So you build up weapons. The whole thing is, now the atom bomb, it changed everything. So then they had the hydrogen bombs. I remember we go to the movies and, we'd have news and then they'd show, the Russians blew off a 50 megaton bomb, and they showed it, the things. It's just like, oh my God, this is reality. We're growing up like that. I remember cowering in my bed. He says, is it going to hit us? Like that. So somehow, now if you look at the history, there has been very many close calls. There's this one Russian guy who they honored recently. I think he may have passed away now, in the last 10 years. He's manning some radar station in Russia, right? This is in maybe the early 80s, which is a very high tension time. And he gets on the screen. He gets. It looks like there's this launch against the Soviet Union. All of these rockets going up, you know. And or not. There's a few of them. It's not like a big 100 of them, but it's just like 3 or 4. But it looks like it's going on. And he's supposed to call his bosses, whoever, and they'll in turn launch the intercontinental ballistic missiles from Russia and the war beyond. So he didn't make that call, because he said, this doesn't make any sense. Why would there just be a few? If they're really attacking, there'd be a whole lot. So he had this doubt. And he didn't make the call, he double-checked, and sure enough, it was some computer glitch, and it almost caused World War III. And he was the fail-safe that didn't fail, that saved the world. And so he got some honor recently like that. And the Cuban Missile Crisis, I remember that I was 14 years old. And what happened was, and it's a long story, but there was the revolution in Cuba in 1958, and this was like and Russia came in, and they had their ally. It was just 90 miles off the United States. It was a big thorn in our side, So we had the Bay of Pigs invasion. We tried there were certain elements of the CIA. They were training some Cuban refugees to invade. And they figured as soon as they invade, get a little foothold, then the American Air Force will come in and so that was unfortunately they didn't get the final okay from the President Kennedy, by that time. So they said, well, we'll go on anyway because he'll have no choice but to support, But he didn't, and they were massacred and captured like that. So, but throughout there were all of these plans to assassinate Fidel Castro and kind of get back in there so we could take over the island again. So meanwhile, we had installed intercontinental ballistic missiles in Turkey, which is just a short hop to Russia. In other words, we were threatening them more than the Russians could threaten us. So they wanted to balance this out. Khrushchev had an idea. He was the leader. He said, okay, we're going to put missiles in Cuba, so that with nuclear bombs, so the Americans won't do anything, not only in Cuba, but also in Berlin and like that. We'll balance out. This balance of terror. They call it balance. MAD. Mutually Assured Destruction. MAD. Nice acronym. So anyway, they started installing them, and we had these planes that could see. It's called the U-2 planes. They came up and they said, "Oh my God, they're putting in these missiles here." So I remember in the UN they had all this thing, and they said, "Okay, what to do?" So we had our whole military down in southern Florida. We had thousands and thousands of troops ready to invade, and all of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the military, were telling Kennedy you got to invade, you got to invade. But he wouldn't. And so what they did do is they blockaded Cuba, because they thought that the actual bombs weren't on the missiles yet. So we'll blockade these ships that are coming from Russia carrying the actual nuclear bombs. So now we have the situation. It was in like October of '62, and here I am, a 14-year-old kid watching the black and white TV, and Kennedy comes on and said, "Yes, we have a quarantine of Cuba." They wouldn't say blockade, because blockade means a war. It's like an act of war, so we call it a quarantine. It's just a euphemism. And so now, the tension is building, because the ships from Russia are coming across the Atlantic. And what's going to happen when they meet the Americans? Are they going to have a shooting war? Is one of them going to get sunk? Is it going to, So we're watching. So eventually the Russian ships come, but they stop and they turn away. So the whole world breathed a sigh of relief. But what we didn't know, what came out later, is that along with those ships on the surface, there were submarines. The Russians had submarines, And several of those submarines had nuclear-tipped torpedoes. If they shot them at the American aircraft carriers and those used, they would have blown them up. It would have started World War III. So no one knew about them. At least it wasn't publicly known. So they get to the point, and the submarines are down there, and we can tell by our sonar. We've all seen the movies where we have a certain amount of radar. You can go down into we knew about them. So what kind of communications? Very rudimentary. So what we did was we radioed Moscow and told them we're going to drop depth charges. Depth charges are bombs, but they're not going to be lethal. We're not trying to kill these guys. We just want them to surface, right? But how are Moscow going to get it to the submarines? They couldn't get the message there. So meanwhile, on the submarines, you have the two commanders have to agree to send those nuclear-tipped torpedoes. We wouldn't be sitting here now if they had sent them. And if they both agree, then they send them, and World War III starts. You see? So then the depth charges come down, boom, 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 and they think they're under attack. They say, well, war is going on already. We didn't hear anything, Now, it just so happened that on that submarine, there was also the admiral of the whole fleet, and he also had to agree to send those torpedoes. He didn't agree. He did not agree. Krishna's arrangement. And so what they did is just surface, and they found, World War III wasn't on. They're just trying to scare us. That's how close we came to the end of the world. So now, those who know say it's almost like that. We're pushing Russia. We're going up to the border. We expanded NATO and all this. They have bombs that can come over here and destroy SanDiego. In other words, Prabhupada talks about this sometimes. Because what you have is you have human beings who are sometimes moved by anger and who are bewildered, don't know what's going, don't care about the results. They think that they can bluff and we'll get, And on the other side, you have people who are just whatever. They're also human beings. And when has there been in society, has there ever been a state where the weapons weren't used? Eventually, if you have a superior weaponry, somebody's going to come to the power and say, well, let's use it and we'll conquer and we'll be in charge. But the weapons now will destroy the earth. Then on top of all that, aside from that, even if we survive this area without a nuclear war, and another hot place, as you know very well, is India and Pakistan. Both nuclear powers, and they're confronting each other in Kashmir for so many years, it all grows out of the independence, the divisions and everything. So, anyway, so this is the world. And then you have, climate change, really it's climate crisis, climate catastrophe. So that's going on. So that's all because people are not Krishna conscious, and they're in the mode of passion and ignorance, and they're trying to exploit and dominate over others, rather than have a kirtan and all glorify the Lord, become happy and peaceful, and the earth can be a place back like a heavenly planet, if it was historically. So that's what the mission of Srila Prabhupada was, is to spread this knowledge which can avoid absolute catastrophe in the world, to bring about a revolution in the impious lives of this world, misdirected civilization. And it all depends on the science of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavad. I'm sorry, we've come to the end of our little discourse. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.